All right, we are live. Welcome to
Yay!
Another edition of our live show. We are so excited to be with you tonight. My name is Erin, and I am one of the lactation professionals at Kiinde. And I have Dominique, our IBCLC or Internationally Board Certified Lactation Consultant with me, as I do every week. And we are really excited to be here with you guys and to talk breastfeeding and parenting and whatever else comes up tonight. So before we get started into the questions, which by the way, lots of great questions from both Facebook and Instagram today. We're excited to answer those, but be sure to continue asking questions, commenting, sharing, liking this video. Those that engage on this video during the live show will be entered to win one of our Twist gift sets, which is the whole Twist system. So be sure to be sharing with your friends and liking, commenting, asking questions, and we'll draw that at the end. Before we get started on the questions, I just wanted to remind everybody that everybody that's watching tonight can get a free breastfeeding starter pack. Emma will put the link across the screen here, and I'll also make sure it gets in the comments for you guys. So you can just click on that link. You get a free breastfeeding starter pack if you'd like. If you are new to Kiinde and you're not familiar with what comes in that free breastfeeding starter pack, it's going to be everything that you need to start using the Kiinde system. So you're going to get the adapters, and they just twist right on, similar to where the bottle would if you were pumping traditionally. This is a Medela flange, which works with our standard adapters, but we have our adapters fit most pumps on the market. So that twists on. From there, you'll take your pouch. It also comes in the starter pack. Twist that on, and then you can direct pump into that pouch. When you're done pumping, you just take that off. If you're ready to store, you just put your cap on, and then the pouch can go in the fridge or the freezer until you're ready for it. When you are ready for it, you can warm in this pouch. You can warm under warm running water, or in a bowl of warm water, or in a circulating water, a circulating water warmer like our Cozy. And then the pouch is going to hook into the Twist squeeze bottle. It just hooks right in there. You put your nipple on. This is our active latch nipple, and that just pops right in there, and your baby is ready to feed. So no transfers needed. You can pump, store, warm, and feed all from the same pouch. If your baby already likes a specific nipple, or you like a specific nipple, you can also use our adapters to feed with other nipples. Yes, we know it's a little bulkier, but we think that the versatility is worth it. So everything that you need to get started is going to come in that free breastfeeding starter pack, as well as some coupons for more Kiinde products. So if you aren't familiar with Kiinde, haven't tried us yet, it's a great way to get started. If you're already a Kiinde parent, then we are so grateful for your support. That starter pack makes a great baby shower gift or new parent gift. Be sure to pass it along to any friends and family that you think may need it. And if you are already using the system, be sure that you're signed up for our emails, for our newsletters. All of our exclusive coupons and promotions and things like that are going to come there. So we didn't forget about you guys either. So that's my little blurb on that. We're excited to continue offering that. That promotion is ongoing. If you're not sure which adapter fits your pump, send us an email to support@kiinde.com, or a message. You can ask here in the live tonight, and we will make sure that you get the adapter that you need for your pump. So let's answer some questions, Dominique.
Yay!
Emma should have one ready for us here. This question says, can I mix breast milk with solids if my little one is just starting solid food purees? And yeah, you definitely can. It's a great way to use some of the extra breast milk. It can thin out purees if you're not quite ready for the thickness. This is just a personal experience. Others may have different experiences. That baby rice cereal and baby oatmeal, breast milk tends to not thicken it. I don't know what is inside of it that, so I found better luck using water or some other kind of liquid to thicken baby oatmeal and baby rice cereal. Now, regular oatmeal I had no problems using. But for some reason, I don't know what your experience was, Dominique, but like breast milk just stirs up and just stays thin.
I don't know. We never did it. We skipped it because I just didn't see the nutritional value in it. We just did we just did foods. I just skipped right over the oatmeal and the rice stuff.
Yeah, once I learned about, like, we did baby led weaning fairly quickly, but we
Yeah.
started in the rice, and I found I had much better luck mixing just like a vegetable or fruit puree with the rice or the oatmeal
Yeah. Yeah.
than breast milk tend to just, I don't know if it's the enzymes in breast milk or what it is, but that would be my
Probably
only,
breast milk's
yeah.
like it's not supposed to be in here. Kill it.
That would be my only deal. And it's not a bad thing. It never got thick enough for my baby to really eat it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's a great way. I even still put breast milk in my toddler's smoothies after she was done breastfeeding when I had
Yeah.
extra to use.
Yeah,
And
I
we
think
would
I did
pop it in
that
there.
too for smoothies, and we made yogurt with it and
Oh
like the
yeah.
leftover stuff. But definitely, I used to use breast milk as the water when we
Right.
did purees. So I think it's totally fine. Just follow the same storage guidelines of the breast milk if you're making a bunch in advance.
Yes.
Sundays are when I made our baby food. So, but I would always use fresh milk so it could keep longer.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah,
And food, if you're storing food like in your foodie pouches or whatever, can be in the fridge for like 72 hours, and then it needs to go to the freezer, and it can be in the freezer for 3 months. So what Dominique's saying is, like, if your breast milk is at 5 months out of 6, you need to make sure you're using that food within a month.
that's right.
So if you want to save it for 3 months, then make sure you're using breast milk that's
Fresh.
more fresh
Yeah.
in the lineup there. And I believe that as far as food goes, the deep freezer doesn't change. It's just a 3 month
Yeah. Yeah.
across the board. So yeah, so that's what's going on there. This question says, is there a way to get baby comfortable to nurse in other positions? Baby only likes to nurse when we do sideline position, but I can't do that everywhere we go, unfortunately.
I mean, you could. People would look at you weird.
Can you imagine like lying down on a park bench?
Don't mind me just feeding my kid. Mind your business.
Yeah. My first suggestion, especially if your baby likes that sideline position, maybe part of that would be, if you're comfortable with it, to try in a carrier when you're out and about, like a ring sling or a soft structured carrier or wrap, because it's kind of going to give them, they won't have to really do any work or hold anything up, kind of similar to in the sideline. Obviously, they're not lying down, but it may give them some of that same security that they get from the sideline position. Also, it puts gravity in your favor in the breast. They don't have to hold the breast up out of their way or anything like that, because gravity is holding it upright.
Right, right. You can also try lay back recline position as well. If your baby doesn't really like any other positions, though, I would maybe suggest talking to it with like lactation professional or your pediatrician, because there could be something else going on with baby that maybe having baby be more uncomfortable in some of those other positions, like ear infection comes to mind. I know when my kids got ear infections, they just like to lay down a lot. And if it was just in one ear, they wanted to lay on the side that didn't hurt. So that could be something else too that you may want to pick up, especially if baby only wants to lay to one side and not the other.
Yeah, or if it's a new behavior, if baby
Yeah.
had been, laying, those are all, and your pediatrician or lactation may pick up something else, a torticollis or a
Yes.
tendency, a tightness, something like that, and they can give you tips for that thing. So if you feel like you've tried all the things at home, then that's when it's best to get like an assessed feeding from a lactation professional, and they can maybe pick up something a little different.
Yep.
Give you more tips, because yeah, that's frustrating. I know it's like frustrating to not be able to ever feel like you can feed in public.
That's right.
Because you feel like you lay down. This question says, with my first baby, I had high lipase breast milk. Will this be the case with my second baby? If so, is there a way to stop this from happening, change of diet, or something else?
So Unfortunately, no, there's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is, unfortunately. Um, I don't know the chances of the second baby having high lipase. I would just say if you had it with your first, you can test your milk to see early on if that's going to be the case. And if it is, the good thing is you've already dealt with it, so you know what to do. But there's, as far as I know, there's not much you can do about it. It is how your milk just processes after it's been frozen or refrigerated. Unfortunately, but I can look more into it because I haven't looked into it lately. So you can always email me too at elsie@kiinde.com. But I'm pretty sure that's just what it is.
Yeah, just anecdotally, I had high lipase with both of my babies, but sporadically. Like there was no rhyme or reason to what milk turned or what milk didn't. So
that's depressing.
Well, it was fun. I mean, luckily neither of my son, he didn't care. Like it did not bother him. And my daughter never took a bottle anyway, so hers was always mixed into something else. So
well, I guess that makes it easier.
Yeah, it didn't matter for us, but it was just I tried so hard to like nail down the rhyme or reason, and I was lucky to have a flexible job, so I didn't have to worry about like preemptively scalding or anything like that. But in my research at the time, there was a lot of like presumed ideas or like studies being done on like maybe this makes a difference, but I never saw anything like really
definitive. I don't remember reading anything definitive either, but it's also been probably 10 years since I've read about it.
I basically wouldn't stress over it unless your baby is refusing the milk, because really unless you're sniffing every you may not even notice it.
Yeah, and really, that's the only time it's a problem is if baby refuses. If baby doesn't refuse it, you can just do life.
Right.
And just treat it like you normally would.
So like Dominique said, you may just kind of have to wait and see, unfortunately, but it's out of your control. So at least you can let go of that stress.
Exactly.
This question says, I'm heading back to work in 4 weeks and am required to schedule time to pump. How often should I be pumping while at work to maintain? What would be your suggestion, Dominique, on scheduling? Yeah, that is frustrating.
Yeah, it is super frustrating. I usually tell parents, sorry, my dog is walking where she wants to. Just knocked my camera out the way. I usually tell parents to try to pump at least every 3 hours that you're separated from the baby. So like a typical 8-hour work week, there'd be like a mid-morning pump and a mid-afternoon pump, and you'd pump during lunch, but I don't think you really should have to schedule that because the lunch you take, like your job has to give you a lunch, and they can't dictate what you do on your lunch except for like you can't drink. Right? Like you can't come back to work intoxicated, but they can't.
I would think the only thing with lunch would be like if your lunch varies in timing. Like, I've worked retail before where like sometimes your lunch is at 11 and sometimes it's at 1. So my only suggestion there would just be to talk to your leadership and just say, hey, I need a consistent lunch break, or I need to know well in advance. Like I can't find out when my lunch break is that day. So I need to know the week ahead when my lunch breaks are going to be. That way you can say, for example, if you go to work at 8 a.m., you nurse your baby before you leave at 7. You can, 7 or 7:30, whatever. You can schedule a pump at 10:30. You can have lunch at whatever time, and then you can schedule a pump at 4:30. And I mean, that's just a really basic schedule. And then you may find that like your baby nurses right at drop off. And so you push that pump a little back, or, like your baby's going to nurse right when you pick them up. And so your afternoon pump could be a little earlier, or you could just pump and then nurse, whatever. But that would be my only suggestion if you have to like schedule because of maybe a changing schedule, to just ask for whatever consistency they can give you so that you're not kind of stuck with, Like I know, like when I worked in retail, they'd be like, "Oh, your lunch is at 1:30 and your break's at 2:15." You're like, "Oh, okay,
great, thanks."
Yeah, that or or it would only be an hour apart or whatever. So, otherwise, yeah, like Dominique said, about every 3 hours is pretty standard on that one. And don't be afraid to ask for help because
That's right.
or not for help, for consistency, that the law protects you. This
That's
question
right.
says, what are some ways I could wean my pumping schedule down?
Okay. So I usually suggest, sorry, it took a minute for that to like
It's
calculate in my
okay.
head.
It's the end of the day, Dominique. We're all there.
I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. My brain, like I read the words, my brain was like, it doesn't, what? The mouse stopped turning.
Does not compute.
That's right. I usually suggest parents to try to decrease the amount of time you're pumping per session and take it one session at a time. This way, it gives your body time to adjust so that it will decrease the amount of milk that you are making during that time, and that will decrease your risk of having mastitis or getting clogged ducts. So for instance, if you pump at 3, 6, and 9, I usually tell moms, which pump is the one you hate the most. Get rid of that one first. And start off, if you're pumping for 20 minutes, decrease it by 5. So just do 15 minutes and then wait a couple of days and then do 10 minutes and wait a couple of days and do 5 minutes. And then after a couple of days, just get rid of that session altogether. And just hand express the comfort if you're uncomfortable, and then wait like a day or so and then move on to the next pump session that you want to get rid of. That's normally what I suggest, especially if you're an exclusive pumper. That way you're not running the risk of endangering yourself from mastitis and clogged ducts. If you're just pumping at work, it should be a little bit easier to kind of cut down. But again, I usually say take it session by session. Don't just go cold turkey, because your body needs time to get that signal to slow down.
Yeah, that's really great advice. That's what I would say as well. Just take it slow, and then if you get to the end, then you can hand express for that comfort. That's always a kind of bittersweet moment when you get to start weaning from the pump. This question says, I can only pump about 1.5 ounces per side, but when I catch milk with a silicone milk catcher while baby nurses, I get 2.5 ounces on the opposite side. Am I doing something wrong? No. you're that's just a perfect display of how our body responds a little bit better to our baby.
Yep.
Your baby is right there. It's stimulating that letdown at the same time. The pump it's just not the
baby.
Same. Yeah. So you're just getting the benefit of that, having the baby nursing on the opposite side, which is, one reason that makes those silicone milk catchers really handy. In the past, that would just drip in your shirt or your breast pad or a towel. So it can be a really good benefit. Dominique may have other suggestions. Something that may help you when you're pumping just with the breast pump is to use hands-on pumping to help to stimulate some of those same hormones that the baby is stimulating with the skin-to-skin touch, the warmth, and the massage. Yep. That may give you a little bit of a boost. But no, you're just a perfectly normal breastfeeding mom.
That's right. And that's also a good sign that the pump is not an indicator of how much you make. It's just an indication of how much you can pump. Because clearly, you can do a lot better.
Yeah, but just as unfortunate part of breastfeeding.
That's right.
This question says, is it possible that your milk will decrease at 4 months even if you're exclusively breastfeeding? Because I did, and I was just curious for the reason. So yeah, there is a normal regulation. Multiple times throughout breastfeeding. 4 months tends to be one that, at least in my experience, a lot of moms report a regulation. At that point, we know that baby is getting more active, more awake, they're nursing more quickly, they're nursing longer sessions spread out far apart as opposed to these cluster feeding sessions, and your body just seems to start to really get into the rhythm kind of around that 4-month period in my experience.
And also too, that's prime time for moms to start birth control. So if you have started birth control, depending on the kind that you have, that will cause some irregularities in your milk supply. I swear, like there's a fuse out.
Well, you said it's been a long day.
It has. So birth control can, if you are one who has started solids at 4 months, that will definitely cause your supply to decrease some too. So there's normal lowering as the baby is going longer between feeds, but there's also too some things that we do that we don't realize we're doing that can cause it to go down around that time. And did you know that between 3 and 4 months is the average time for weaning here in the United States because of this? People think that they don't have any breast milk, so they move on to formula at this point.
Yeah, we have a lot of moms are going back to work.
Yeah,
at 12 weeks, we're seeing birth control being introduced, solids, like you said. So those are all really great things that Dominique brought up. I would say your gauge for worry is, are you producing what your baby needs each day? If you are, then that's fine. It's normal regulation. Your body will keep up with the ebb and flow of your baby. If the amount has decreased significantly, you're not pumping what your baby needs while you're at work, or you're feeling like your baby's showing signs, then it's time to visit your lactation professional. And they can help you deduce what the root cause is and make a plan to feed your baby and protect your supply. This question from Elena says, do you have to wash parts every time, or can I wipe them down and refrigerate them and wash at the end of the day? Trying to avoid washing them in a shared kitchen at work. That is a tough one. So the current CDC guidelines recommend that you do wash every single time, or at least rinse every single time. That CDC guidelines came from some, I believe, studies that were done in hospital settings, showing that the breast milk sitting in the flange wasn't as, I guess, safe as we once thought it was.
It was just one study. It was just
there you go.
One
just
baby.
one study. So I think that I think, and Dominique can weigh in more on this too, that you have to, as your person, take your risk versus benefit assessment. If your baby is a healthy full-term baby and that shared kitchen is dirty, and you feel like, oh, it's gonna be worse off to wash in that kitchen, you kind of have to assess that. Something that I've seen a lot of moms doing is filling up a bin, like a Rubbermaid bin, with water and dish soap and keeping that in their office. And then they're setting up a little rinse and wash station.
That's what we do at work. I tell the moms that have to pump on the units, don't put your stuff in the sink. Use that basin.
Yeah, they do make like the quick clean wipes.
Yeah, I was gonna say they make they have microwavable sanitizing packs that you can put all your stuff in and throw it in the microwave to sanitize it real quick. I think it takes like 10 to 15 seconds maybe.
Yeah, it's fast.
They have the microbial spray that you can use to wipe down, and they even have the wipes. I think those are great options if you don't want to put your stuff in the sink, and just make sure you do a good deep clean at the end of the day. But I what I usually tell parents is, it's up to you. The CDC, there was one baby or two babies that got sick, and they traced it back to the mom not washing her pump parts right away. I think both those babies might have been a little bit premature. They weren't full term. So the ball, like Karen said, if it's disgusting, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I think
there are other options.
Yeah, I think, the other options are a basin, the wipes, the sanitizing bags. There are other options. I think, at least in my experience, and Dominique's even more immersed in the world than I am, that the lactation world is kind of stepping away from recommending letting the milk sit in the fridge just because we don't know. right? And we don't want that to ever be a factor. So kind of a better safe than sorry standard is where that comes from. But like everything in parenting, you are the ultimate decision maker.
That's right.
on what happens for your baby. So those are some suggestions if you don't feel comfortable washing them in the shared kitchen, which is totally understandable. I know depending on where you work too, kitchen is like a really relative term.
Yeah. Any area with a sink.
Yeah. This says, I have to supplement with formula at night due to work and I'm not producing enough. How will I know if my baby is intolerant with the brand? That question is from Stephanie. Dominique, what do you see from intolerance to dairy or soy or any kind of formula? What's your suggestion on that?
So, as far as like brand, I'm going to put my conspiracy theory hat on, and I think it's all the same.
I think it's all pretty similar.
Yeah, I think all the regulars are the same. All the gentles are all the same. I think they just slap a different label on there to get you to buy it. So as far as a particular brand, I don't know, but to formula, if it's a true like allergic reaction or intolerance, so like the baby will have blood or mucus in the stools, hard distended stomach, debilitating gas, vomiting, and that can be projectile or maybe like really wet burps sometimes. Baby may have hives or just like red bumps or whatever if it's like an allergy, and that usually is where the food travels. So look, around the mouth and here and on the belly. If the baby is truly not tolerating the formula. And I will say this as somebody who also formula feeds babies. Yes, I'm a lactation consultant, but I have to feed babies. Your baby, especially if one that's been getting a lot of breast milk and you introduce formula, may have a small reaction, but that doesn't mean stop the formula altogether. Give your baby a couple of days, let the body adjust to what they're being given. And if it's getting worse and worse and worse, then talk to the pediatrician about what they suggest you try next. Try to avoid doing the formula shuffle, as I call it, where you give a baby a bottle, you don't like how they're acting, so you go to the store and you get something else random. Talk to your pediatrician or even the lactation consultant about what the symptoms you're seeing, because they can better tag down a formula that they feel like would be better for the baby, and then they can tell you what to get or prescribe it to you, and then you can do it instead of putting your baby through all of the motions trying to figure out what is good and what is not. And also too, even though you're not producing enough, still give your milk, because that ultimately does help the baby tolerate the formula a little bit better too.
Yeah, that's all really great suggestions. And your pediatrician is going to be, they're going to have the most up-to-date information on the formula. Your pediatrician, your lactation consultant, really, I know like the term lactation consultant sometimes can be a little deceiving. But like Dominique said, she has to feed babies, right? So
right, that's right.
that's formula is a really great tool sometimes. And so they are up to date on ingredients and recalls and different brands. Sometimes they have samples, which can be really nice. They can give you a 2 weeks worth or something like that, so you're not stuck kind of in that shuffle. And like Dominique said, talk to your pediatrician, your lactation professional before you ask like the internet, because everybody's going to have a different brand.
That's right.
That
Stay
work
off
for
the
them.
internet.
And so just talk to, and then like Dominique said, if there was a reaction where maybe a specialty formula or something different was needed, then your pediatrician knows exactly what you've been doing. They're monitoring that, and they can give you the best suggestions rather than having to write down 10 kinds of formula.
Right.
And your
and
pediatrician is trying to guess which one irritated them. So yeah. So this question from Delilah says, I've seen and heard that a pump flange pressing too firmly on the breast can cause clogged milk ducts. Is this true? Yes. Any kind of compression, additional compression, can cause a clogged milk duct. So when you pump, your flange should just really be resting on the breast, right? The suction part here is pulling the nipple in, but the actual breast tissue is just sitting. So if your flange was pushed up against the breast tissue like that, then there's potential that a duct in the breast is then going to get compressed or cut off, and that's how we get a clogged duct. So that's why a too big or a too small flange can be problematic, because a too small flange may be pulling breast tissue into the tunnel, which is then compressing, and a too big of one can be you're having to hold it, right? And so you're squeezing it up against yourself. So in my experience, that definitely can be an issue. Dominique, do you have anything to add to the?
If it's just like the outside part, like around the areola, I work with mostly moms in the hospital, so sometimes we do get that ring around the nipple or the areola part, but it's usually we have moms that have a lot of edema
Right.
going on, or they're like their full milk just came in, so they're a little bit bigger. So sometimes you will get that ring, but all in all, if the flange is a good fit, you really shouldn't have any problems. Oh, and also if you're wearing like the hands-free bra, that can sometimes add some pressure there too.
Yeah,
But
especially if your bra is too small.
yes,
Like if
which
your
you shouldn't
hands-free
be
bra
wearing
is
too
like
small bras
so
anyway.
tight to get on. Yeah. So mostly, really, optimally, your flange should just be sitting on the breast. But anything that's pressing, so if you find yourself holding it, really tight against the breast, just
Probably
kind
needs
of
to get
watch.
refitted.
Yeah, just kind of watch, because the suction should mostly keep it there, kind of just sit, like this.
Erin,
So
I think you need my boob for your demo.
you know what? So I do, and I had one. I had this really cool one that like had liquid in it. Does yours have liquid in it?
No, it's
So
just a
so
regular squishy.
so it has liquid in it, so it would pull in the flange when you demoed it. But
Oh,
my
yeah.
6-year-old popped it on accident.
Oh,
He was
no.
devastated. He thought he was going to be in so much trouble. So I
Oh.
need to order another one.
And all my flanges are too high up. I can't grab them quick, so I can help you.
We have the opposites.
That's right.
We have the opposites. So yes, any kind of compression, additional compression, can cause clogged ducts. So just try to avoid too tight of bras, too tight of anything pressing up against the breast tissue, and you should be good. This question from Jolene says, how can I get her back on the breast if she keeps pushing me away, crying and screaming? All right, Dominique, how do you work your magic on these ones?
Set the baby down and run away. No, I'm kidding.
Well, maybe take a break, right?
Yeah.
Take a deep breath.
Well, yeah, a break is good, but try a different position. If baby is pushing away, she's telling you that something in that position ain't right, or she's not comfortable, or maybe you're holding her weird. So, it's good if everybody's frustrated. Take a step back, take her off, sit her up, pet her, calm her down, but then try a different position. And then I don't know how old baby is, but take your latching back to basics. Take it step by step. How are you positioning her? Is she on her side, or is she belly to belly with you? Are you holding her in the back of her head, or are you supporting her at the base of her neck? Because some of those things, if they're not positioned well and you're trying to shove them on the breast, then they're not going to want to go on because they can't. It's uncomfortable. If you're shoving the back of their head, they're definitely not going to latch on. They have a reflex where you put pressure here and they'll meet your pressure back, which means they're not latching. Is she well supported in the hold? If, say, like a lot of times I come into the hospital and moms are doing the football hold and they got the baby just by the head and the rest of the body is like dangling behind them. And it's like, no, of course I wouldn't want to eat anything too if I was just being held by my head, no matter how hungry I was. So make sure baby is well supported and doesn't feel like they're falling. A lot of times if you just kind of slow things down and take it step by step, you can kind of see what the issue is, and then baby will latch on just fine. But don't make it a battle of wills. Take a break, because you don't want baby to resent going to breast either. take a break, and then take it, break it down. Make sure she's positioned well. Make sure she's supported well. Make sure that latch is lined up nose to nipple. Make sure you're not shoving her head on, in the back. Support her by her neck and shoulders. And that may help. If it still doesn't help, call for your lactation consultant or lactation professional. A lot of people are doing virtuals now too. That's something easily a lactation consultant can see via virtual assessment, and they can help you with that as well.
Yeah, I think those are all really great. When my son, my son was on like a bottle and a nipple shield, whatnot, for the first 8 weeks of his life. And so when we were working to get back to the breast, that was stressful. There's really no other word for it, especially as a first-time mom. And I remember those times when he was crying and I was crying. He's pushing away. The nipple shield is, swimming all over my breast. And
they grabbed it and tossed it.
Yeah. Yeah, he was holding onto it. And that's what, my lactation counselor that I worked with was like, okay, take a deep breath. Like, I'm going to hold the baby for a minute, calm him down, and we're going to start over. And she was like, this never needs to be traumatic for either of you. If you feel your stress levels getting to traumatic, stop, and even if that means for that feeding or half of a feeding, you give whatever feeding method is working, and then you try again, or you try again the next feeding method. Because if it becomes stressful, then what happens is automatically when your baby's hungry, you're automatically sent into fight mode, right? Yep. Your brain is like, whoa, ding, 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 this is a stressful situation. And then your baby's like, my mom is stressed and I'm hungry. And then your milk's running to not let down because you're stressed. So that's right. Always take a deep breath. It never needs to be a stressful situation. And if you feel like you can't get there at home, please, like Dominique said, see somebody. That was the game changer for me. I thought for sure he was never going to breastfeed. And my mom was visiting and she was like, let's just go. And I was so hesitant to go. And we went, and it changed the game for us. It took 6 weeks, okay? 6 weeks of lactation to get him full time on the breast, but we got there one day at a time.
Sometimes
one feeding
those
at a time.
Extra set of eyes helps too.
Well, she just reassured me too.
Yeah.
That my baby wasn't crying because of me, and she could see me start, she could see my shoulders starting to creep up and remind me to breathe and put them down. So lots of benefit to seeing somebody even virtually if you really feel like it's just not working.
It's so funny you say the shoulders too, because I think so when I'm on the unit helping moms, like I'd say 5 things over and over again to every mom, and one of them is relax.
I know. Now that
I touched their shoulder and just like put pressure so they'll relax. I'm like, it's okay, relax.
I know. And then they're like, oh, they don't even realize.
Right. They don't realize how tense they are. It's just like,
I know.
Like that oxytocin flowing.
Right. Yeah. Lean back a little bit. I know. It's hard. We've all, like me and Dominique, we've been on both sides of the coin. So
That's right.
we know just how it goes. Yes. Okay. Well, I think we have time for one more question, and then we will draw our gift set winner. And please keep asking questions. Dominique and I and our team will be hanging out in the comments and the questions tonight and in the coming week. So don't be afraid to continue asking questions. And this is a really great question to end with from Ashley. It says, how do we know there are tongue or lip tie issues versus just first-time mom struggles?
Well, I mean, you don't. You can, if you're a professional, see a professional, they can do an oral exam and they can kind of say, oh, well, this is why the baby's not latching well. For example, I had a mom on the unit this week where, her nipples were kind of flat, but they were shapeable. Like she could get the baby on, but she was like, why is the baby not latching? And then I did an oral exam, which she wouldn't have known to do. And I noticed that her baby was very restricted. I was like, well, you guys aren't puzzling because your baby's tongue don't leave its mouth. So, you can look in there on your own and kind of see what you see, But if you're really struggling with latching, then I would definitely see somebody in person so that you can get the oral exam, so that like a professional oral exam, should I say, because you can Google and see how they do it, but you may not know what you're looking at. So get that oral exam. So if it is like a tongue tie, lip tie that's causing the problem with latching, then they'll say, hey, I think it's this, and you should probably go talk to this person about it. Or if it's just a latching issue, then they can help with that too and show you how to better get your baby on the breast a little deeper, a little wider, a little bit more efficiently. But yeah, you can like try, YouTube videos for latching, positioning, stuff like that. But if you're truly struggling, like Erin did with her baby, go see somebody, so that, get that extra set of eyes in there so they can see what you're doing from the outside, and kind of help guide you there.
Yeah, and I think, so many of the symptoms are multifaceted,
Yeah, it's hard to
unfortunately. And
tell.
so it is hard to tell. And so that's why lactation professionals and pediatric dentists, that's why they do their job. So, in some ways, there's no point in trying to self-diagnose
Yeah.
because it's just gonna make it more difficult longer. So, if you are having any of the symptoms of it, your first step is to see a lactation professional. While they can't diagnose a tie, most of them are pretty good at recognizing the differences, and they can usually say, okay, these are the things I see, let's try these things. Or like Dominique said, sometimes you look in a baby's mouth and you automatically know, let's call that pediatrician or that
Yeah.
ENT or that dentist to get this taken care of, because there's no point. And sometimes, like I worked with a mom just a couple weeks ago who was just sure her baby had a restriction. Her friends and her Facebook groups and everybody had told
I
her
love it.
that her baby did, and we did an assessment and she actually had an overactive letdown and oversupply. Her baby's mouth
Yes.
was fine. And so we
Yeah.
got that managed. So there comes some, while it's great to have the solidarity and support of friends and family and, Facebook groups, they aren't professionals. I mean, sometimes you find one, like, Dominique is a professional, but even Dominique couldn't do an assessment via the Facebook group.
No.
She's
And
gonna
I really don't like doing
it.
it.
Have to see you in real life. So I think, when it comes to, if you even have an inkling that something is not right, if your intuition or your symptoms or whatever are telling you, just make an appointment. Make a virtual appointment if you have to, and they can, tell you what needs to be done. Send us an email, lc@kiinde.com. Dominique can at least walk you through what that process is
Yeah.
going to look like, help you find somebody at the least, because a lot of the symptoms, like Dominique said, you just don't know. They could be
Yeah.
10 different things because babies can't communicate.
No. And
So,
sometimes they display the same behavior
mhm.
for two different things. Like, for instance, you said overactive letdown, how they behave. They
Yep.
also behave the same way if they're not getting enough milk too.
Yep.
So it's like, it's weird. They
It
do.
is.
They display the same behavior for like four different
Yes.
things.
Sometimes I always say it's one piece of a puzzle, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you have to, your professional knows to look for all the pieces.
Right.
You, like even me as a first time mom, even with my second daughter, I was already a lactation professional. She did things that I was working at WIC at the time, and I brought her into my fellow lactation counselor, and I was like, I know what's going on, but I can't figure it out.
But you know what? That happened
So
to
I need
me
you to
too.
watch us
Yeah.
because you are a second set of eyes. And then she, pointed something out that it was like, oh, duh. But
Yep.
because I was in mom mode, I
Yep.
just wasn't catching it. So,
This
um,
lactation consultant saw too. Lactation consultant.
yes, it's great. It's great to be able
Yep.
to see each other. So don't be afraid of asking for, if you want to think of it this way, worst case scenario, you have a nice visit with a really great lactation professional
That's
and
right.
they tell you everything is fine and how great of a mom you are.
That's right.
That's the worst, thing that's going to happen. So, yeah,
I
if you
like
have
when people tell
questions,
me how great I am.
yeah, every parent likes to be
That's
reassured,
right.
right? So yes. So, I have a winner for our Twist gift set, and that winner is Jolene Schreiber. I think I said that name right. That seemed like a pretty easy one. So Jolene, send us an email to support@kiinde.com and we will get you your gift set. Everyone else, thank you so much again for joining us tonight. Please continue engaging on the live, sharing, asking questions. If you're not already familiar, we do have a Facebook group. That's a really, really great Facebook group. It is Lactation Consultant led. If you're looking for a group to get real solid information as well as peer support, and our community there, it's called Kind Community. You can click the link or just search Kind Community on Facebook. We have a really awesome community. It's drama-free, really supportive.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, we're at over 5,000 moms in that group. So there's a good chance there's a parent in there who has experienced what you're experiencing, or they're going through it at the same time. So even if you're just looking for solidarity, our team is in there to answer any questions about products. So look us up, come join us in our community. And again, thank you so much for being here with us. Don't forget to get your free breastfeeding starter pack if you haven't already. And we will see you next time.